Hi, everyone. This is Sandra Says, and I'm here with today's two guests, and we'll be talking about Greek life. So this is Ask A Haitian Greek Life Edition. So I'll ask Gina to go first, and then we'll have Samuel introduce themselves and tell us what organization they're a part of.
Sure. So my name is Gina Brisson. I am a member of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, born here in New Jersey. What other information do you want? I'm in the insurance field. I have a very huge Haitian family. That's all I got for you.
Awesome. And Samuel?
Hi, my name is Sam Bellany. A member of
That's a good Haitian last name, though. That's a good, very good Haitian last name. Good Haitian last name. Good job.
I'm a member of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. I've been a member since 2005. Born and raised in New Jersey, hometown, Middletown, aka East Orange. I'm in the higher ed field. I think that's it. That we covered everything?
Yes, awesome. So, full disclosure, I too am a member of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. I became a Zeta in the spring of 2005 at Fairleigh Dickinson University. So I am pretty familiar with Gina and Sam, and I wanted to bring them on so we can talk about Greek life in Haitian, from the Haitian aspect, from the Haitian side. Là, nous à nos collèges, nous décidons pour nous entrer dans l'organisation, and pour nous-mêmes, I know for me, lem di ma feli, li gade kisa zeta, ma jam tande sa. And so I think for me, being a first generation college student, college graduate, then telling them I want to join a Greek letter organization, it was completely foreign. Add to it, I also said I'm going to stay on campus. It was like, So I felt like, you know, they took it as maybe a form of rebellion, or I'm trying to assimilate too much into either American culture or Black American culture, and they didn't quite understand it. Did you guys have that experience when you decided to join your Greek letter organization? How did your family take to it when you said, hey, I'm going to join, or did you just join and told them afterwards?
So I kind of gave my mom a little bit of a preview. I told my dad outright. He got it. But my mom, you had to like ease her into it a little bit. The first thing she thought of, and she continued for the first 10 years, was that I was joining a cult. Yeah, she wasn't a fan. She was not a fan up until, I want to say maybe a good 5 years ago, when another one of our sorors, on Mother's Day, we went to see her at church, and another one of our sorors, Enoch, was there. And when I said, oh, Enoch's in the sorority, oh, that's my baby. And all of a sudden, Zeta Phi Beta is the best thing in the world. So yeah, it wasn't, I'm the first Greek in the family. So it wasn't taken too up.
And what about you, Sam?
I actually didn't tell my parents the full truth.
Wait, Monty? Hey!
Yeah, I told them partially. I told them I was joining a community service group,
which is true,
of men. That had a great 99th percentile graduation rate. So you know, they help the community. They're going to help me with me after college. It's a lifetime membership, but that's about it. But my mom, being the lazy Haitian woman that she is, she started snooping and asking questions. And of course, like other family members and cousins, there's just like, oh, that's a cult, and what are you doing? You're in a fraternity, and you know, like that's not good. And you know, and she had to hear it from, at that time, from Jean Guy, which was another older brother than mine, to actually keep her calm. But again, she was just getting outside resources, so she didn't really know. So I didn't tell flat out, just bring it to her. I literally hid it from her until I joined the organization, and then I started to educate. But until then, I don't know how she feels about it. I'm being honest, but she loves the people that's in it. Like the people that she came across, she loves them like they're her kids, like she birthed them. So it's kind of funny. I'm like, yeah, you know, my line brother, which you love so much, is part of my organization. You know,
Like, that's fine. That's your
my
friend.
sister you love so much, you consider a daughter, is part of my organization. So it's funny. It was Jean Guy, you know, the one that you're always saying, that's my brother, that's my brother. Yeah, that's my brother too.
Awesome. So how would you describe how you grew up? Did you guys grow up surrounded by Haitian culture, or did you grow up in a more diverse environment? Parce que vous connaissez les si on haïtien a grandi, pas nous just yo pas besoin nous faire amis, but yo besoin nous connaître l'autre haïtien. So est-ce que vous croyez Jean te grandi avec un pilote haïtien ou pas si tellement?
Definitely around Haitians. Only when you went to school was I around anybody else. Like I said, I come from a really big family, so the way we were raised, that's who we spent most of our time with anyway. Anybody extra was from church.
Yes,
it was. Yep, that was it. So the only time we were around people that weren't Haitian was at church, was at school. And that was it. And then you had to come straight home. So it wasn't really a hanging out.
L'école, la caille, l'église. In that order.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. We
It's the same way.
That's it. Yeah.
And even then, not all cousins' houses you could go to. No.
Yes.
Because once they see you start being too friendly with the cousin, they're like,
not ours. We to this day, I have 3 sisters. That's just on paper. There's like 20 something.
I come from a large family too. I think that's another thing that attracted me to wanting to be part of a Greek letter organization. Like I already come from a large family, but I'm an only child. So, you know, it's that duality of it. Like I'm an only child, but I have a large family, so I always have people around me. So it was like an even bigger family of people, international family. Oh, I definitely want to be a part of that. And what about you, Sam? How did you grow up? What was your type
Same
of...
way. Same way. Come from a huge family. My mom.
So then when you sorti, what you?
What is it?
Oh, what about you, Gina? Where your people from?
Port-au-Prince.
Oh, yeah. Daddy, Quadribuquet, and Port-au-Prince in the building.
Yeah. So the funny part about it is, like, my mom's maiden name is Jean. You know, there's a lot of Jean.
Wow.
So
I mean, it's the name. Haitian is Jean. Jean
exactly.
is
We're related. You do know that somehow we're related, right?
Yeah.
Somehow we're related.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So it's kind of like growing up. Like my family, my parents, my mom was strict.
Igual.
Yo, it was l'école, like these lakai, but even l'école, you couldn't stand there the whole time. And you couldn't have
Timoun, parce que m'bakwe Timoun, ti grandi, kounya, konen mize, nou passe pou yo ka vive la vie. Like these new Haitian kids is pranking their parents. They pranking parents. They hanging out. They going to sleepovers. They going to the club. The club.
Ain't no.
We sacrifice for y'all.
You got a home.
Like y'all have to understand. My mother would be like, "You having too much fun at school."
Yes.
Like,
yes.
How? No club. Like, no. You enjoying this too much. That's the thing. Parents don't want you to have too much enjoyment.
I was told I had too many friends. She was like, "You got too many friends."
Yeah, it be one friend. That's too much.
One friend, and it had to be a church. It had to be a church friend.
Yeah.
So, Langley's superseded everything else. You know, you had to get there Sunday school, which was mandatory in our house.
L'école de dimanche.
Koal. Oh my God.
Éthique publique.
Éthique publique.
Jeune.
Yo, it's Saturday Gen too. Do you have to clean it in me?
Don't forget the prayer in the house when they go to somebody's house.
Oh yes! Affaire yo.
That's
what ça nous passe misère pour ti municipal ça nous passe misère pour yo. I'm telling you. Listen, y'all owe us millennials and Generation X
a lot.
Okay? We wore our parents down for y'all. We wore them down. This is why y'all can do some of the stuff y'all do.
Yo,
We
the
wrote it
little
down.
freedom, I outsmart my mom. I was like, yo, when she let me play football and soccer, I was like this. All right, so as long as I was in, in school sports, I had an extension meeting new people in time. And so I did indoor track, outdoor track, baseball. So I was a student athlete.
My mom, most Haitian parents, they don't mince words. So I met my my track and field coach in like 6th grade. And he was like, you would be good at track and field. I'm like, I don't run. He's like, no, but you can do the field part. Shot put, discus, or whatever. I go talk to my mother. Walkui. It's like, no, there's another part to track and field. So I said, but so now she's not there on the I was like, listen, my mom said I can't. I was like, now if you can find a Haitian person to come convince her to do it, and then she's like, okay, you can do it. My first practice, I came back home, I was like, so, no, something like that. He did. Like, she did not understand the practice part about it. Like, listen, I was trying to do it, so I totally understand. Like, that little bit of freedom they give you, you try to inch it out.
Mine was a job. I got a job to be free. Okay. I
got a job too.
I went to Burger King. I was free of the
Panera Bread in the white neighborhood. Short Hills.
Wow.
Listen, these new age kids, y'all don't know what I did. I done brought all the black people to Short Hills. I went to Panera Bread in Short Hills.
You was fancy.
Wow.
Real fancy. Machata lattes and chai tea. Girl, I loved it. I enjoyed it. So in that same vein, since most of us grew up around Haitians, did you find school and then college being your oasis as far as networking and meeting people outside of your culture? Is that where you really learned about different cultures and learned, hey, how they do things in my family is a little bit different than how they do things in, say, a Black American home or a Jamaican home or a Caucasian home?
Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Now, did you ever feel disvalued, any prejudice? Parce qu'on est l'haïtien entre la l'autre moun yo ka jijo. You can speak with the accent, or you say close the light. Because being
thank you.
Because being bilingual, and that's the thing I want to get it. Is a blessing.
Oh my God.
But the thing is that we're processing 2 languages in our head at the same time.
Yes.
They don't get it.
It's a very literal language.
Yeah, open the light.
By the time I translate it, it's closed. And for years, like market, like I used to call the grocery store the market, and I just like there's too many things in my brain to try to decipher market from grocery store. And I was like,
yeah.
Like I know what a grocery store is, but my mother don't call it a grocery store. She calls it the market. So we're going to the market.
That's what's in your household. So you
right. And so
I don't know how else to I did not for the longest time, and I don't think I even do it now. I don't say sweep the floor. I said broom the floor.
Yeah.
That's my mom always said broom. Yeah, go broom the floor. Okay. But then when like Americans here, they're like, what are you talking about, broom the floor?
Right. And so do you think that causes people to judge you a little bit? Maybe think you're like not as intellectual?
Yes.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. Especially, and it's funny you mentioned that. It was this week. I was with another brother of mine, and he's also Haitian, and his chapter was making fun of him because he said, close the light. I was like, and they thought I was going to jump in with them. I was like, nah, he Haitian. You close that light.
You close the light, or you open the light.
Exactly. Open and close. And so I that is also the thing, like, because we have to stick together, especially in our Greek letter organizations. And that's another thing is diversity and inclusion along that vein, is that we have to explain to people, this is why they say this way. This is why they do things that way. Because we're multilingual. We grew up in a different culture, and how we do things is different. So we're not less than, it's just how we speak. Because I'm a very loud person.
Really?
My internal, listen, meaning, I'm going to add some graphics. I'm loud, duh. But it takes me a while to realize how loud I'm getting. Like my internal loud monitor is broken. So not until you're like, baissez voix sonda. Parce que Haïtien parle fort.
Yeah.
So, sou pa konnen ou, like for us, nou gen meeting, nou gen pou nan nou conference, wap pale avec moun nan, they looking at you like, All right, girl, I can hear you.
I got one better for you. La brasse moon. So
Okay.
you see somebody who brasse you. So
Yeah.
people coming up to me like, oh,
Right.
he's
So, I
you
see,
know?
nous ba accolade, nous, je nous leve nous for both tout moun wear.
Yeah.
I habitué à ça. So,
I didn't even realize anything was
oh, they like,
I did not
Yeah.
think that was different.
Oh,
I had a boyfriend in high school, and I went to his house, his family's house, whatever. And trust me,
I'm surprised you had that even
oh,
in high school.
listen, we
lied.
lied. We didn't know he was my boyfriend. I had to maneuver that one. But I went to his family's
college.
Haitian children with boyfriends?
Oh, he wasn't my boyfriend. That wasn't the title I gave him. But officially, he was my boyfriend. My mama didn't even know he was my boyfriend.
Exactly. That's my friend. Mama, friend.
Yes, he was my friend. But she still didn't know I was going to his house. His mom had to call and do this whole thing.
Nous passons misère, really.
This whole thing. And we were friends. It still wasn't boyfriend. But his aunts and uncles and everybody was there. And I entered the house. And I went and gave everybody a kiss on the cheek. And they was like, oh, she's so nice. And he was like, what was that? I said, what do you mean? I said, what do you mean, what was that? I was like, that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to kiss every adult in the room. And to this day, like anybody I've dated, if their mom, I can't help it. Trust me, I try. I get it. They're American. I try so hard. But I have to give them a kiss on the cheek.
But in that vein, I would say, that helps us in our Greek letter organizations because we have protocols we have to follow. You have to say hi to certain people in a certain order. So it does help us in a certain way in our organizations. Parce que you just, you know, ça c'est président, ça c'est vice president, faut saluer comme ça. Moun ou just saluer comme ça. So it did help us, but in probably our personal lives and professional lives, it's like, because our organizations can be so rigid with the rules. Like, these are the rules, you follow them because they're the rules. And I think the Haitian side of us is used to that. Like, look, my mama said I gotta do it, so I gotta do it. My mama said from
Becoming a Zeta. I think that's what made it a little bit easier, like being a Zeta and becoming a Zeta now. We're used to
we're used to stuff.
And not questioning or asking. It was just like, okay.
And when you decided to join your organizations, did you do so thinking I'm going to be the only Haitian in my particular chapter, or did that not matter to you? Est-ce que tu as choisi groupe pour dire que ça, même si c'est là ici, je ne sais pas si tu as respecté, si tu as remember, si tu as parlé mal?
No, my line sister was another Haitian girl, and then one of the sorors there, she was Haitian as well. So I didn't think, no. I just knew that we had in common. How we gonna tell our parents and try to bounce?
I think that it was a little bit easier for me because, again, there was a Haitian on my protocol, and there was an older brother that was also Haitian. So, and then I found out my best friend from high school I didn't even know he was part of the organization, and he's Haitian. So I was just like, oh, mommy, you know, you know, the pastor's son is also Haitian. You remember so-and-so.
Had to throw in he was the pastor's son.
They're part of this organization
too. I'm telling you, you know how to zhuzh it up.
You gotta switch it up. So it's kind of like, she was like, okay, see you in the église là, then okay, you know? So it kind of smoothed it's smooth. And I'm not gonna lie, I felt like I paved the way for some in sorts for for my friends that were Haitian. They're like, oh, if Sam could finesse it, then I could say it too, because you know, you say bon timoun, Sam said bon timoun, you know. So they would go through me. They were like, oh, Samuel is in there, you know, Sam is in there, you know, he's a good kid person. So they kind of opened up the doors and gave a little ease.
So let's talk about that a little bit more, because I do feel that, because being in a Greek letter organization is so multifaceted. That means you went to college. That means you learned how to network. That means you had some money at least to pay for that. You're learning leadership skills. And these are a lot of things that a lot of Haitian children need because their parents are immigrants. Unless your parent, I would say, is like a second generation immigrant, but they still might not know as much. So how do you feel you've benefited from being part of your Greek letter organization, and how have you tried to, say, attract more Haitians to your organization?
Well, like for me, growing up being completely sheltered in a Pentecostal household, yeah, there's not one there. So
my muntie's
kinda,
around here somewhere. Well, I did it.
So
No,
exactly. So it's kind of like I had that shyness in that little bubble. So me being an ace and being in front of the line and like being asked to recite and talk in public, and that was foreign to me, to be honest with you. So it kind of really developed me and broke me out of my shell from being an introvert to an extrovert. And it was just like, and I had to be an extrovert. Like there was no way out of it. Like I had to be outspoken. I had to be ongoing. I had to think on top of my toes. And, it was just like, it brought out characteristics of me that I thought that I never even have. And it really redeveloped and reshaped and resculpted who I was. So it kind of gave me the benefit, like, wow, this is me. And they give me a mic and just start talking in front of so many people, doing panels and doing conferences and leading, and just like, and not getting that nervous and just that nervous bubble feeling, and just like, you know what, everything's going to work out. If it doesn't work out, it's going to work out. That type of mentality. But the old me, and sometimes when they see that, like people that grew up with me, they saw that, they're like, oh, he changed, and some of them is like, oh, he changed for the better. Like, okay, I see. Kind of like, you know what, tell me more about this. Tell me more about that. So it was just like, because I remember you growing to be a shy kid. Now you're the president, you're the face, and you're talking to people, you're, leading conferences and doing stuff for your organization. So it was very beneficial to redevelop my leadership skill.
Awesome. What about you, Gina?
I would have to say, and this is probably like an oxymoron thing, joining Zeta actually made me more independent. My mom raised me and my one sister who's like right after me, like we're pretty much twins, and I wanted something that was my own. So going into Zeta, that was like, oh, this is mine. You know what I mean? Yeah, I gained independence by joining Zeta. As far as how it also benefited me, like I literally just turned 10 years with my company, and the reason I started working there was because of another Haitian Zeta who got my foot in the door, and I've been there. So it's been very life-changing. I am an introvert. People don't believe it.
You have your limits. Like you can
an ambivert, which is both.
But 20 minutes, yeah. There's a limit to how much time you can take out together.
Yeah, very limit. So I'm usually outside of the person who has to be like out there, whatever. I like to watch a room first or observe people first, and Zeta broke that out of me, because you had to like think on your feet and you had to start talking to people. And I'm not the type of person that likes to just talk to any old body. But now that you have sorors and frat, whether you know them or not, you gotta
you have to introduce yourself
very quickly and start talking to them and be personable, or it's going to be perceived as rude or whatnot. So it made me a little bit more, like Sam said, independent and extroverted to an extent.
But I think I relate to both of you guys, because for me, I am an only child, so I did want something that was for myself, and then it just so happens I was the only one that became a Zeta my year at my school. So only child, solo. Okay, fine. I get to do it my way, right? So it's my own thing. So I understand, like, m'te bezon bagay pou kont mwen. Parce que pa gen lot moun ti nan fami mwen, ti nan organisasyon kon sa. So m'konnen si m'feli, it's going to be, Sandra did this. She's the only person in the family who has done it. Anybody who does it after me is going to be. I think I have one cousin. She's an AKA. I think she became an AKA at Syracuse. And so just being able to talk to family members about my organization, what I do. And like Sam said, I was raised in a bubble, but I've always kind of been talkative and that sort of thing. But just, okay, Sandra, we have a chapter meeting. You got to read these minutes and tell these people what to do. What?
Mm-hmm.
And so it just developed that into so much more. Because I feel like sometimes in our culture, being so outspoken, being extroverted, you might be called a sumun, women flanning, but that's what our organizations do. We have community service, we have galas, we have conventions, and it's like, oh, mom, well, yeah, I have something to do. Something has my time outside of what you think I should be doing. And so it just made me that more extroverted, that more independent, saying, hey, I have something to do. I cannot do this with you on this day. And, you know, trying to balance that. I think that's something that being in a Greek letter organization, if we can get more Haitian kids to at least learn more about it or go to college and have that experience, it'll open up more doors for them to kind of help. You know, our parents did teach us some good things, but there's some things that we can learn just being exposed to other things and other scenarios.
So I was going to say, I think another benefit we have as the first in our like families and circles or whatnot is we could set the tone as far as what being in a Greek letter organization is. Like they have their lifetime perception of chicks doing crazy things and saying that they're in a sorority, or what their friends are telling them that they hear about it, and then they have what we pretty much us using us as an example for everybody else. So I thought that was a beneficial part, because it's like, yeah, that's not all. I'm going to church with my sorors. I gotta go, you know, and every time I go to a luncheon, I gotta take this picture so my mom could put up on her thing of me being dressed all nicely and whatever, because that's all I want her to associate me being a Zeta with. You know what I mean? I don't need her to think that it's what's on Lifetime with chicks on tables or letting people write on them and circle them.
Right. And did you guys explain to your parents that this was a lifelong membership? Parce que m'bakwe gen pil Haitien ti kompon qualité organisation nou ye. Yo just question just no college la ou feli den ou fini. But no, ça c'est pour vivre. And maybe that's why they think it's a cult, because it's like your whole life. Yeah. So how did you explain that part to your parents as well? Like, this is not just while I'm in college, this is for life. Because then when you graduate college, it's like, no, I have my Zeta meeting, and my mom, even now, my mom was just like, you got something to do for Zeta? Oh.
My mom ain't let me get that far with the description.
Yeah, I'm being honest.
I couldn't even get there with her. It was just, you literally have to show them. That's it. Only way I could do it is show you what it is, to try to explain it. I mean, I think, like I said, she saw another soror at church and she accepted it. But what really made me realize, oh shoot, she gave me like a little turban. It was blue. Oh, here, I got this for you. Because it was blue. And I said, okay.
They're making the connection now. They're making the connection.
Listen, I'm like, baby steps. We got this. So, you know, now every time there's a scarf or something, I got you this. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. To me, that's her acceptance of it all. Outside of that, God forbid I pass away, I don't know who's somebody got to tell her about
the last.
Yeah,
we want to
homegoing. You gotta have to put it in writing.
Yeah, you gotta have to put it in writing. You're gonna have.
That's the part where they're gonna be like, no.
Right.
So
it has to be separate. Like, we just need the body on a Thursday. Y'all can do your own thing Friday and Saturday. Y'all gonna have to do your own.
To try to even explain that, I can't do that.
So what does being Haitian mean to you? We are in May. It's Haitian Heritage Month. So what does being Haitian mean to you? Are your chapters doing anything in regards to Haitian heritage? Have you done anything in regards to Haitian Heritage Month? So what does being Haitian mean to you? It's 2020. It's a crazy year so far. It's only May, but it's been a crazy year so far. So what does being Haitian mean to you in this, you know, topsy-turvy world we got going on here?
That's a good question.
I guess being resilient and be able to adapt. You know, 1804 stands for a lot. You know, we're rebels. We learn to adapt, and we learn to, you know, adapt to our nature and survive, you know. And one thing, you know, is in our blood, you know, like pandemic, like this whole situation that's going on, this crisis, I mean, yes, it does affect, but we adapt. Like there's a lot more things that goes on in Haiti. Like I wasn't raised in Haiti, or it's been years since I visited, but it's the stories of um, and our family members that was brought up there, or they're looking at this like, oh, why is that? Yeah, with los chaque jour, no fait no bar, they can't go outside, they starving, they'll have one meal for every 2 to 3 days. Or they over here fighting Jabalik, with prayers and stuff. So it's like for them, just and I look at that, and those seeds are embedded in me. Like those stories are just like learn to adapt, and just there's always a way out. You gotta be resilient, and you gotta keep persevering. And especially when you have God in your life, that even makes it even more better. So being Haitian is that strong mentality, just like you head up, 1804, first, African American, country to have our own independence. Like, what up? You know, Flag Day. And if you look at it in our culture in the Caribbean, it's like we're very prideful. We like, yo, we have our own. We want our own.
Yes.
So yeah.
Right. We're gonna have Flag Day. We're gonna make sure everyone remember it. We're gonna have our Independence Day. It's January the 1st, so it's just, I think like you said, it is embedded in us to be resilient, and we pull from that to help us continue going. What about you, Gina?
I think what Sam said, I have to piggyback off of what he said. Like, with all this going on, I went straight into survival mode. I'm not losing my mind. I'm not going crazy. I'm not thinking, oh my God, how am I going to do? I'm like, all right, let's go. Like, okay, so I will say this. I did not know for the longest time that the household I grew up in was less than middle class. Because my parents knew how to make something out of nothing. Like
Spaghetti?
Listen, we didn't even have leftovers like that. Like, I don't know how, but there's something that the way you're raised, it's like, I don't know. I'm just always like in awe. Like, I know I made maybe triple times what my parents made. You know what I mean? And I can never understand, how did you survive off of so little?
Yes.
They did. Like, my mom has a hustler spirit. Like, and sometimes I'm like, okay, I get it, where I get some of it from, but this is the same woman that will go to Bobby's and buy all these panties and go sell them at work. Or go to Bobby's and buy candy and make little baggies for the nursing assistants and sell it like that way. You know what I mean? So it's always like, I'm gonna make a way out of no way. I'm gonna make money however I gotta make money, and there's always gonna be food at my table no matter what.
And just so you guys know, Bobby's was that our generation of Amazon. It had everything.
It had everything. Our parents will try to buy you a shirt, you'd be like, Mama, I can't wear Bobby's irregular stuff.
Man, curtains. I got my first place and I went to Bobby's for curtains.
You just know what you're going to get. I think, and that's the thing, is just the familiarity that our parents had, and they're so resilient. So sometimes, even on your own time, you're like, maybe I just need the placemat.
Yeah.
Like, Tinsha, what do you need a placemat for? Well, I don't know. My mom always.
Yes, a cool. I got one right in the house. Anybody that comes over, they're like, "What is that? Mind your business. You don't know nothing about that."
Right? You don't even think I need it, but I need it.
It's just there. The pillow is there.
The pillow piece. Right. So, do you think, because we were all born in America, and do you identify as Haitian, or do you have like a dash? Do you say, I'm Haitian American, I'm a Haitian who has Haitian parents, but I was born in America? Est-ce que j'en identifié tout? Est-ce qu'on dit c'est un Haïtien qui fait États-Unis? Est-ce que just on moun qui fait États-Unis gen parent ti Haïtien? How do you identify yourself?
I'm Haitian. I don't even use Haitian American. I don't use any. It's always been in my head. My mom's Haitian, my dad's Haitian. I'm just in America. Like, you know what I mean? They were born there and I just happen to be born here. I am Haitian. I will throw it in people's face in a heartbeat, when they try to say, I've had people who try to say, oh, you know, African Americans, we da 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 da. I'm like, wait a minute now. Please do not forget that not all of us.
Right, just because
I'm
African American, I'm Black American.
Yeah, I'm not putting it down, but I'm Haitian. Please know that if you're going to include me, you need to include everything. I am Haitian. Right. I don't even do that. I don't know. It's just never been a thing. It's Haitian.
What about you, Sam?
I agree. I remember when I used to say I'm Haitian American, my mom used to say, oh, you're lucky because I had the option to have you in Haiti. So she used to threaten me like, you know, so you better thank me. I didn't go back to Haiti. You know, so it's kind of, it's always that, that threat, like, yo, you Haitian, you know, you live in America, but you Haitian, you know. So much as you got so spot, you know.
Yeah, like what American eat the food you eat? But I say that because this year for the census, they have Haitian as a breakdown. So pour census, pour États-Unis, ça yo fait chaque 10 ans yo compte moun ti nan pays a pour yo ka ouais combien ko pour yo mette pour programme. Première fois yo mette haïtien. Haïtien, Jamaican and other.
And we made it.
We made it. So think to yourself how long our parents have been here, our aunts and our uncles. And the census is done every 10 years. We're finally having that description. I'm Black, but under Black, there's Jamaican, there's Haitian, there's Dominican, there's other options. And I think that's something important for us because we are the college educated generation. We are propelling our family's journey further because it's not one thing just to be in America, just to be here, but we don't want to assimilate, but we want to take advantage, not in a negative way, but the resources that are available to us, we need to use. We need to learn about the census. We need to tell our family members about the census, why it's important. Yes, going to college is great, but we got to tell them about networking. We got to tell them, make friends. You know, Haitians hate to tell you to make friends.
Yo, I thought it was my household.
No,
like, this is the first time I'm hearing this.
Parce que Haïtien, c'est amis, but c'est pas zamia, c'est qualité zamia. But because they don't make friends either, or because they only make this, you know, they're friends with people at work or their family members, and they don't understand the dynamic of to get ahead, whether you're America, Brazil, Chile, you need to make friends with the person. The example I love to give is sometimes like, ask your parent who their HR manager is. Ask your mama what her boss do on the weekend. Now me, I'll tell you what my boss like. But see, I didn't learn that from my parent. I learned that because I made different types of friends who I listened. I took what I needed and I left what I didn't. I think the more we try to expose the younger generation, we try to help the older generation. They might be a little stuck in their ways, but if we explain to them why certain things are important, why joining particular organizations, why, yes, Saturdays are for cleaning, we get it, but maybe every other Saturday, you let your kid go down to the library and try something. Yes, like I remember when we didn't have a computer in my house, and the teacher's like, just use your computer, and I was like, okay. And I told my mother I need a computer. She was like, for what? Why can't you go down to the library?
Yep, that was my computer, the library.
And then I'm like, but mama, the work that I need to do cannot be done in the time. And like, she really gave me a hassle about a computer compared to me having friends. And they was like, girl, we got 2 computers. You can come to my house. And I'm like, no. But see, that's how I ended up getting the computer. I was like, well, mama, if I can't do it, then I can go to such and such house. And then, you know, Haitians don't like you comparing yourself to other people. So then she was like, oh, wala kay moun? No. Ça, combien computer cost? And then we did it. So helping them understand, like, there's certain things you need to do for your children and be involved. Like, our parents complain about school, but join the PTA. The same way other organizations, and they have teleinterpreters. You know, you can ask, hey, we have 20 Haitian parents who would love to come to these meetings, but they don't speak English. Can we get an interpreter? The same way they do it for other languages, they can do it for y'all. So I think us going to college and being exposed to more, we need to continue to use that information and help them out.
I agree.
So is there anything that you think that you learned in college that you are now constantly, or not constantly, like you're trying to help enforce in your either family or friend group?
That was so long ago.
Oh, well, real life now, since you're out of college, anything that you've learned that maybe something got debunked? How about that question? What have you learned that has gotten debunked? Like, kisa paonte do lot of gandi kunya logomun uwe. Bon.
I don't know, because I think now more than ever, I'm embracing what I was told. The older that I get, if that makes sense. Like I find a little bit more comfort in what we were told. Like I think even when my mom would mention about having too many friends, I think that she could have maybe explained it a little bit better. Like not everybody is your friend. Maybe that's the way it should have been, said. But that's the only way she knew how to say it was you got too many friends. Instead of saying it, what other, what maybe my like American counterpart might be like, oh no, not everybody's your friend.
Right.
So. And in that sense, she was right. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I think I'm embracing more of what I was taught now. I see more value in it now more than ever. And I try to
agree
more than ever. I don't really think that there's anything outside of like networking and like expand saving, maybe as far as things like that, like retirement, 401 and this and that, like that stuff you had to learn from other stuff. Credit, I learned all of that because in our community, or I know in my family, credit really wasn't a thing on how to, how to make sure you have good credit. It was all about you made it if you bought a house.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
That was it. But they didn't really explain
the personal stuff.
That.
Right. So the personal stuff was good advice. It's just the real life experience because they didn't get to go through it. You didn't really have it. So
they got a home, but they never showed us how to like get a home. All it was get a home, use that money to pay for your to pay for the whole mortgage, and that's it. It would have been more helpful to get a little bit more of the tools. But then again, like you said, they're immigrants. They're but what do we used to say? They're just comes.
Just comes. Oh, the day.
Yeah, and they had to make it do what it do. And in our family, they did what we see like the Chinese do or the Indians do. Everybody stayed in one house. Like one person got a house, they sent for whoever, we were in the house. This and that. And then when you were able to branch out on your own, then your family, your family will get its own spot. And then you would send for the other person. Like that's how my mother and her sisters did it. They sent for each other. You know what I mean? Each other's husband. My aunt, my godmother sent for my dad. You get what I'm trying to say? So they just did it without really teaching you how to do it, which is the part that I wish.
Yeah, there's some missing steps.
Yeah, I had to figure getting my own home and everything on my own, or trying to like pay attention and reading resources, or pulling from different people within the organization and whatnot. So,
what about you, Sam?
I agree 100% with Gina when it came to I'm now embracing certain things like I love the fact that you talked about the whole friendships. Like you could have just said not to have too many friends, and this steps to trusting people rather than say pas fais amis. The whole Parmesan Ben Moon, like COVID-19, la de mail, so like I mean things that are basic. Things that are very basic.
My mom's a germaphobe
and
anyway,
always
so she's
cook,
on 20 now.
Rather than eat outside. So it's kind of like those things that I'm now embracing, just like, yo, that's so true, and family times is very key, especially on Sundays. One thing is that financial literacy. I think that growing up it was just like crazy gato, but I don't know. You remember watching the game Jason and how frugal he was? Haitian parents are very frugal. When that meme says like a Haitian man's wallet with all that laja and like $1, it's so true. It's so true. They just don't have money for what you want as a child, but they have money
for
what they want. And so that's a good point. I think some of our personal upbringing, like I'm definitely I wouldn't say I have too many friends, but I'm more of an extroverted. I want to say I'm the outlier type of person in my family. Like I don't have too many friends. I mean, maybe I do. Maybe to my parents' standards, I have too many friends. But I kind of understood what they were trying to say. But I have other family members and friends. Like their parents kind of gave them that same lesson. Don't have any friends. Okay. And then it's time to go to college. It's time to network. And they're like, I don't know how to do this. Well, go ask Sandra. And I'm like, okay, so tell me about your teacher. What does she do? And they're like, what? Okay, do you have anybody in your class you talk to? No.
See, and one thing too, growing up, my mom was very involved. Even though she didn't understand, like, she understood, but it couldn't come out the way she wanted.
We need more of that because Haitian parents value education so much. I wish they would get so much more involved in PTAs and even like on college campuses or just things that where their kids are. Because I know a few of us, we were part of like Haitian cultural associations on our college campuses. So it's just, meeting other people's parents and you're like, wait, your dad owned a business in Haiti? He's an international trader. He should be up here talking to the schools and stuff. But they didn't see the value in what they were doing. And then you go to someone else's, like my communications classes and, someone's parents in advertising. And I'm like, well, I know 4 people who own their own money transfer business. I know somebody who sends Doom back and forth to Haiti. That's international travel and supply and demand.
Yo, what killed me was they would be like, yo, we ain't really got that much money. But like every couple of months, my dad had a car. Like, and then you would see the car, and then he'd send the car over there. You got a whole car, like, but then like I said, like the things I learned, honestly, this is when I was like, I'm turning into my parents. If my spare tire goes wrong, I'm automatically going to a junkyard to find a tire. It's
just buy a new one, girl.
I'll be like, well, we'll junkyard real quick because there's a part at the junkyard. Yeah. I'm not going to Advanced Auto. I'm not going whatever. Like,
and now even better, I can get on Google junkyard.
And you just go in there. Like that's where, and like I said, those are the things I value though, because I'm turning into my parents.
A more refined version,
Yeah.
Some of the edges my mother, okay.
Some of the edges off. I would say some of the edges off. But as we're winding down,
one last thing. One thing that I think in our Haitian community that we do lack is that mental health awareness, and we do not talk about it.
May is Mental Health Awareness Month.
Yes. And we put it in the background, underneath the rug. And so
I will say, in addition to, that's why I think Greek life was just something that was good for me because it exposes you to different types of Black people. And so meeting people who are talking about therapy, you're like, what? Therapy. And but
bon Dieu. Ça Bible dit. Ça Bible dit.
But faut nous tout prendre chance là pour nous parler avec un monde qui ka aider nous. C'est juste mentalité nous, gagner faut penser trop, stress à point, maladie à point.
It's not realizing that stress and all that stuff can physically wear you down and can stress you out. I promise you, I remember I did not, like you said, we don't talk about mental health. I was having a whole panic attack and thought I was having a stroke. But I never knew what a panic attack was. Right. I didn't know what anxiety was.
And so, I see you what penser trop. L'homme penser trop, c'est un bagay dans mentalité. Ça veut dire besoin de parler avec un monde pour expliquer problème ou gain. Et des fois c'est pas problème nié, it's just ou gon bagay dans tête ou super. It's just if you can't get that thought out of your head, you need to talk to somebody.
Yeah.
Because insanity is doing something over and over again, expecting a different result. Yeah. And as Haitians, we all go through things. And I know we think we don't. And even though, like Sam said, we are resilient, but let's not use that as an excuse not to get the mental health that we need.
It's not a crutch.
And it's not a crutch because even our parents, and that's the thing too, like I wish we can get some of our parents to go to therapy because just think to yourself, you're in this country by yourself. And I'm not even saying a negative, like granted some of the parenting stuff is bad, but just on a personal level, you immigrate to the country, you don't speak the language, you got to get a job. People don't want to hear you speak your language. You don't drive, you got to get a, and depending, and in the Haitian culture, it's more about class than race,
Yeah.
There is colorism. So depending if your parent came and they went to school in Haiti or not, they falling lower. Or they go to that job and it's somebody that remembered them from the hood. And they're like, oh, her people no good. They, you know. So I wish they could have someone to talk to.
I even have a testimony. Like, my uncle, he was a doctor in Haiti. Like a real, like, legit doctor. People came to him, had his own clinic, came to America, and he had to settle for being a nurse. I mean, it wasn't hard for him. It was very hard for him. And I think the one opportunity was when he corrected a doctor and said, this is not how you, I've seen this in my country. And they looked down on him. They were just like, no, this is how we're going to treat it. He was just like, no, trust me, you treat it with this medication. So I think the patient was on his dying, like the very dying end. And, as a nurse, it was just like, okay, you try your way, to a point where he helped the patient survive, and the hospital funded him to go to medical school. So, but the thing about it too is how many of them Haitian history.
Yeah.
Like literally, like the hospital invested in that doctor that was looking down on him and like giving him a hard time, was the one that took him under his wing, and now they share practice together. And the crazy part about it is how many people that were so successful in Haiti, they come to this country, now they're working in factories, they're working at Amazon, they're bus drivers, and it's that mental like, yo, I need to go back, because I was well respected, and now I come here and I'm looked down upon, and people that know me is only people from my culture or people from the church, and they're looking like, oh, wow, so going that lead.
And then I think that kind of like, you imagine you used to be a doctor in Haiti, you come to America, now you're a nurse, but you still want to show off for the people in Haiti that you still, so it becomes a little bit of, I'm about to still try to live that life and show off. So people in Haiti think you balling, but you're in America, you're not really balling.
Nope.
So now you have an extra stress, and you need someone to talk to about that. And I think too, sometimes, because I only know the American Haitian experience, is just, I feel like sometimes when Haitians come to America, they may try to assimilate too much.
Yeah.
And because they just don't know how to say, hey, because even if your uncle, he was a nurse, he could have said, okay, what do I need to do to become a doctor in America? Don't be scared, because I also think Haitians want you to hurry up, go to college, get married, have a baby, in that order. So maybe it's like,
well,
later in life.
For him, he came in older and he already had kids. So it's kind of like, yo, I got to settle. And it wasn't easy, because remember, he had to go to ESL. He had to go get a GED. Then from GED, he had to go to a 2-year college. From 2-year college, he had to go to a 4-year college, get accepted to a nursing program. And at the same time, being a father and a husband, raising, and then his wife passes away. Now he's a widow, now he's by himself and raising children. And it's got to, now he's like, yo, he's looking at the mindset of these doctors. He's like, they don't know what I know from Haiti, and like I said, it's not his doing, it's God's doing for them to even fund him to go to medical school.
Right. And
for him to prep him to take the MCATs and, take the residency program. And now he's a pediatrician, big-time pediatrician in Florida.
I wonder how many more stories.
But not a lot of people get that blessing.
Right. Because a lot of Haitians, when they do come to America, they go into nursing. Because Haitian people, of course, they're smart. They're good at memorization. Yep. So it's like that part is not difficult. But I wish too, like, they could have other options. Because I do know some people, because being a nurse is the easiest thing. It's not easy, not to me, but because it's something that they're used to.
For them to do.
Right. It's more, it's just learning how Haitian people study, how the school system is there. Look, they can memorize a book to you and recite it to you very easily.
Yes.
So, but what if they had other dreams, And that's the thing for me. I think about why I joined my organization. I needed to be exposed to something else besides go to college, become a nurse, become a doctor, an engineer, or a businesswoman.
Or a lawyer. You remember that the three jobs, doctor, avocat, or engineer. Lawyers, doctors, and engineers. That's the only mindset that they ever had.
Right,
but they don't embrace any other any other occupation.
Yeah.
Listen,
And it's kind of like it's new to them. Businessman,
the thing is that
CEO.
I always find that so funny because I'm just like, you want me to become a nerd, a doctor, an engineer, but I can't stay after school and join any after school program. I can't go to anybody's, enhanced learning camp.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to let me hang out with the more affluent people so I can be exposed to that. Y'all don't know what internships are. And I'm just going to miraculously, you got to know people. Like, you got to know people. And so
they don't know that. They don't know that. They don't even know what networking is. Like,
and that's why we try to, I'm telling you, that's what we have to
they've been doing it. They've been networking. They just don't know what it is.
And that's what, and for me, I tell you, like, I'm my mom's Achilles heel because I tell my mother all the time. She's like, I don't got no friends. I'm like, but you used to sell a whole, like, what is it, T-Phi, the aluminum pans?
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, so how did you find those people to sell?
That means you're
networking.
And it's like, me trying to get her to understand the thing you're telling me not to do, you do already. No.
It's just, you can't, it's not, how you're telling them is not.
My mother stay telling me, parle to their phone talk. Huh. But
my mama stay on WhatsApp. You know how many videos I get every day now?
And I think if we can help them see that they're doing something, like, also hustler mentality. My mom used to sell dra, tifal, sustacal.
Remember Sister Kyle? I loved it.
Yeah,
cremas. Haitians always selling cremas.
Now you can't tell.
Selling cremas from the box, like vendo la bouteille.
Listen.
So no, back when I came to business pilon, no.
Yeah. My mom hit me up and was like, she kind of played me. She goes, hey, that pilon, right? I say, yeah, I know you're not using it. Can I have it? I said, I'm sorry, what? She's like, I need the pilon. Bring it down with you next time you come down. I was just like, but I do use it. No, you don't use it right. That's another thing. I will say, I used to complain and be like, yo, Haitians are rude as hell. Till I realized I am the same. We're
very direct.
We're rude. We just say it how it is. And we say what it is. God forbid I get listen.
I don't throw rocks and hide my hands.
Listen, no, they say it and they look at you like, okay.
Right, my mother tell me all the time. But I do, like, I had the conversation, I did the interracial one yesterday. It's about Haitians do a lot of tough love, but I just want us to add a little bit more like damour. Just tough love is needed, but let's add a little bit more regular love, some sweetness to it. But we are very direct. We'll tell you how to
For real.
Who you are. It made me, I mean.
Oh, one thing, we're very competitive. I don't know why.
That's what I'm telling you. I don't understand why we don't got more Haitian Greeks. We love to compete. We love a snazzy outfit.
Oh, we do.
We love a snazzy outfit. We love all white. We love getting dressed.
We love taking pictures.
And we love taking pictures. We love a plant. We love a good plant picture.
But I love it. The crazy thing is, I feel like when I was younger, I didn't appreciate it as much because
I love plant pictures.
People would like tear you down. They were like, "Oh, you Haitian, you stink." I'm like, "No, I don't." Or you don't know how to.
You guys have Haitian beatdown day at your school?
What happened?
Haitian beatdown day?
No, they just. I was called everything from a roach. I was told I was stunk. I don't stink because my mom. We made sure. You know?
Yeah, it's one thing Haitians don't do. Now it might be that Ludimasket rubbed on my body because maybe I had a little cough.
Listen, but like when I tell you bullied to the crazy, where if kids were bullied as much as I was now, they would literally take their own life. But from that, I also the way I was able to cope with it was, we are a little rude and we are tough.
Yeah, we're gonna snap
and
back.
It was like, oh, all right, like come for me. Like no matter what you say, it's not gonna mess me up. However, what I am learning now, and it comes down to like mental health and therapy and everything, is I suppressed a lot of like I told Sandra, I am the Haitian that I am not fluent. Like I don't speak it. But then I think as an act of rebellion is why I don't speak it. because I didn't want to. You know what I mean? I have my sisters, they speak it great. You know, they're very fluent. I understand everything you say, but I purposely would not respond back because it was like I'm being, you know, outed at school and I'm being this and that for being so different. I'm trying to mix in with the crowd. However, now at 36, I embrace it so very much. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's something that when I have children, I'm going to want them to embrace it.
Embrace it. So that's the thing too, like continuing your culture. I know for me, I learned Creole first before I learned English. My mom is not, she doesn't speak English to this day. Like she speaks like un poquito English. She really, and I always wondered like why you never tried. It was just, you know, her mentality at the time of just, because I think for Haitian people, you have two extremes. One who assimilate all the way. So even though they don't speak English, their kids don't speak Creole, and you're trying to figure out how y'all communicate. And then you have those that refuse to embrace America, embrace the culture. They want to be so Haitian. They just don't want to learn certain things. I think my mother was maybe at that extreme when she came, and by the time she realized it was too late. But I learned Creole first. And for a long time, I spoke English with an accent.
Oh.
Because my mom didn't speak English. So I'm growing up with her and she speak her little English, I speak that. And then when our cousins came and them learning English as a second language, so I'm learning English with foreigners, with immigrants. So as they're learning proper English, I'm learning English with them. So, and even then, it's still kind of like I had a little accent. Like I remember, like when my mom was enrolling me at a new school, they tried to put me in ESL. And I was just like, I was born here. I didn't
understand. Me and my sister had to take speech classes because they said we didn't say our R's, S and L's and T's right.
Yeah. So I was very good with the writing.
Just sitting there.
It's just right. And because the thing too, like we started in the beginning, we have two languages in our head. I have to translate for my mother. Look, I don't have time to be rolling. Look, when you're and then I'd be like, all right, my mom said this. Look, y'all gonna have to go with the flow. And so I was doing that at a very early age of just, I embraced my culture very early on, but the teasing and in high school, I think it was the worst because it was the Haitians versus the Americans versus the whatever. And so high school was that type of, maybe I don't want to be associated with the Haitians because y'all are the bad ones. You know?
Kind of.
Yeah. I remember like elementary, it was bad. But then my older cousins, I think they they created their own Haitians, you know, posse and, you know, the outlaws and all that. And, you know, I was just like, yo, you mess with me.
What's the sexual limitations of some of these things? Let's not, look.
All I'm going to say is, yeah, like Sam said, like come high school, you really didn't want to mess with
I had to do the same thing too.
You didn't want to mess with the Haitians.
Middle school,
they don't roll from
I had
the same thing because it was my cousins were popular in high school, and so
exactly.
By the time I got there, I had to pick a side, and you know, of course, I picked the Haitian side, but then they started getting too rowdy, and then I realized I want to go to college. Y'all don't. Nah, I gotta get out of here. So I had to, you know.
I don't think it was that bad with us.
I went to a very interesting high school.
Oh.
There were a lot of issues.
No, I think it got like Sam said, mine got better in high school.
High school was rough. Yeah. It was a rough time because it was just so much division and people just really didn't like Haitian kids. They didn't like it, and it was just an influx of people coming from Haiti and they're getting drawn into the wrong crowd. And then you have the ones who just want to be good. And then it was a lot. It was like.
Which is why therapy is important.
And that's the thing. Therapy is good because so many kids hold that in of being bullied. And I mean, I speak pretty good Creole, I think. But then you go to Haiti and they're like, oh, okay, but you understand me though? You understood this Lunglu, so what's the problem?
I get my life, so when I go back out there.
Yeah, and not only that, I don't think a lot of, like even our parents growing up, I don't think they were happy things could have been done to them or not provided.
Yes.
Nurture in Haiti. So they come here, they try to take the that same mentality, that same abuse, and that same generational curse that's going on.
And put it on you.
And
That's
put it
true.
on you. And then when you get older, you do the same thing. But it's just that lack of, you know what, they like that is that competitiveness, and they compare each other among themselves.
Yeah.
Oh, Bawa Petit Tentel,
yeah, exactly.
doctor,
So
Limaye,
you
Mouchel son
have to-
avocat, and you like, but Mbabe son avocat.
Yeah, and it's not always nothing wrong with prayer. Like I'll be the first person. I'm a Christian. You know, if you know me, I embrace God. But there's certain things where you do need to be talk to somebody that's non-biased, and just to figure out why you think the way you think and how you feel the way you feel, what triggers you, you know. And yes, and continue to pray about it, but there's got to be exercises that you're doing, because faith without works. You know, so you
your
definitely
prayer
work
will
on
be
that.
answered. Like your prayer, like God, I need help with this. All right, while you're driving down the street, it's gonna be a big sign, therapist. You know, it's going to happen. I think being a person,
and it's like an embarrassment when if you talk about it in the household, like, oh, something
like my mom hates when I tell her I'm stressed. Like when I tell my mom I'm stressed, she's like, "Wal ponte tu? Who's stressed? What ponce? What ponte tu?" And I'm like, why do we have to jump to that extreme? And like you said, our parents, our relatives, we don't know what they went through in Haiti. I'm sure they give us, even though they tell us the bad parts, I'm sure it's maybe not as I'm sure it's probably worse than what they're telling us. Like they're giving us a sugar-coated version.
Exactly.
And so it's like, I want them to be able to express that in a way, because then they take it out on us, because you're their dream. You're their American dream. You're their American child, and you're supposed to solve all the problems. This is the reason why
the pressure that puts on you is a lot.
Exactly. So then now you go to college and you're like, well, because I've had that too. I'm like,
think about it.
College, I'm going to join every organization. I'm going to be the president. I got to do that. There's no way. I mean, not there's no way. God can do anything. But how can I, one person, change the whole generation just by doing 4 years of college? Like, there has to be some other things I have to do. There's no way in that 4-year period of time I would have been able to do all of these things. And so because we feel so much pressure, and now you're hitting 30, 35, 40, and your parents like, well, when I was at your age, I came to America. I had 6 jobs.
I had kids. And you like, well, you didn't go to college.
Right. You didn't go to college. You didn't have no debt.
Get a job. Work my way up.
Graduate in a recession.
I'm so sorry, I'm not.
That's a key thing.
Listen, you didn't graduate in a recession at all. I don't live with 16 other people like I used to, that we can divide $700 rent
all that stuff, man.
Like, no.
We have a struggle. Our struggle is just very different.
And they just don't understand that it's a struggle. I think you don't want to have the struggle Olympics, but there is a different type of struggle that we have, and sometimes it's just hard for them to understand it,
Because I'm supposed to already have 4 kids by now. Let me say, my mama was done. 4 kids, her house.
No, I had time. My mom didn't have me till she was 35, so I got like 2 years. But
good. I'm late. I'm a grandma.
She would have liked me to have kids sooner. Like my mom would have preferred I got married and had kids once I graduated. Like graduation.
You don't realize it doesn't work that way. That's how none of
ça. Faut marier, faire petit, then ou jouer notre job, then ou faire job là pour 20 ans, then ou retire ou pour un corps social. C'est pas comme ça lié?
Go back to Haiti.
Don't forget the retiring Haiti part.
And the crazy part about it is, their parents, our grandparents and great grandparents grew up in that whole baby doc, that whole regime. So you gotta think about, like there's a reason why they don't smile in pictures, because they were forced and told not to, and if they smiled in pictures, they were beaten, or killed. And they're like, it's that tough mentality, because that's who their educator was. That whole regime, that whole family, that's who taught them that lifestyle. So them coming to here, they're like, oh no, you have to do it this way, that way, that way. We don't change our culture for nobody.
Yeah, but that wasn't necessarily culture.
There's not diverse.
That's the thing.
Diversity.
Right. Like Haitians we are friendly because we're a communal culture. So some of the things are a paradox to me, because I'm like, yo, Haitian people, we may talk, but Haitian people got your back.
Yes.
They'll,
yeah.
like,
cross
even
it,
in Greek,
we
like,
got your
I'm
back.
telling you, you find out someone else is Haitian, you like, oh, what's up? Moonlakai, come on. Yeah. It's just, you are ready to embrace each other. But then they try to tell you, well, don't smile, don't make friends. But I'm going to help you out if you Haitian, right?
Yeah.
It's just, you need that balance. And I think that's what we need to continue
We need to find
do.
it. We need to find it. We need to have conversations. We need to, yeah.
Because the more we do it,
Mhm.
we don't know what our conversations can lead to. A younger cousin, another friend, here's what we say, and they're like, huh, okay, that makes sense. Let me take what my parent is telling me, and let me take what someone that understands my situation. Because what we don't want, which happens sometimes, is that we get our information from not viable sources. You know, like just how people may think our organizations are cults. They heard from somebody, Yodi. Like I ask them all the time, who's Yo? Yo di con sa, kimunti yo. Tell me who yo is. So we want to make sure we're the ones telling the story. We're the ones that's dictating the narrative, because we don't want anyone else telling our story, because they're going to miss a part. They're going to miss the nuances.
Yeah.
So we have to be the ones that do it, because next thing you know, the Haitians done joined the cult, y'all. Don't let them chat. They done joined the cult. You don't want that. Any parting words, ladies and gentlemen? Any last thing you would want to say, either about your Haitian experience or your Haitian experience as a Greek?
My Haitian experience as a Greek, it's like a double-edged sword. In the Haitian community, it wasn't the best, but embracing it in school, embracing it outside the community, it's been amazing. And it's just like I'm still learning about the culture as is. I'm gonna continue to learn and continue to grow and develop and give back and develop the ones that are coming after me. I enjoy the culture. You know, I still eat my D and so spot to this day. You know, I still do my dance in Copa. You know, shout out to Zouk. Now we got Zouk. So I love it. You know, 1804 all day.
And you, Gina?
Parting words. Haitian as a Greek. I adore it, because I feel like we have a special circle inside of the organization. You know what I mean? So it's another like with Sam and you, I feel like we have like a different bond, opposed to maybe like me and another soror and another frat.
Right.
So,
I think it just makes us closer, and we're just able to understand. I think we can translate for each other. Like even like our little inside jokes sometimes. I'm telling you, that close the light.
And it's like, don't you come for them. Don't you come for them, because you close the light.
Don't play them out.
Like, relax.
You close that light.
And like Sam said, I'm the one that's like, it's all right. That's what we do. Or different things that we might do culturally. And I'm just like, that's why we do it that way.
But this is why we do, yeah. And then it's just, I don't know, I think it's hilarious. One thing we didn't speak about too much, but, you know, hopefully it's a conversation you're going to have, like, what, you know, in your series, is how being Haitian or West Indian is the new wave. So everybody tries to claim it, even though they were it before. So please touch on that.
Rappers throwing up the Haitian flag, going to Miami.
We need some royalties.
Please.
We need some royalties.
So I like I said, I feel very opposed to like middle school and elementary school. I just feel very special. I feel like a special breed. I feel like you know, I just I'm more prideful of being a Haitian woman now, especially you know, in our organization, because I still feel like we're just, you know,
a special group.
We're a very special group. Our connection is, I feel like, a little bit more deeper than with most.
And then we got like more inside jokes, and you know, like I like the fact when you brought up the whole going to the library. I was just telling somebody in my class I was teaching earlier. I was just like, you know, you guys got Google. Back in the day, I had to use encyclopedia.
Oh my God.
I had to open up. You know, we had to buy that book encyclopedia.
I don't know why they bought them. I said, "What you buying this for? These books?"
But you know, it's just, and it's like paving the way, and just like, especially, you know, it's slowly growing. It's not as fast paced as possible, the Greek Haitian community, but it's slowly growing. But when you see another Haitian that's part of the Greek, is totally different. You're like, yo, that's my
How did you
brother,
convince your
that's
parents?
the
We have the
ultimate.
same dialogue. How did you convince your parents? What did they say? How did you get the money?
Like we all had the same talk.
Anyway,
Like, you know, like,
we
okay,
didn't
what
say
did they
nothing.
say?
We
Did
didn't
you
say
tell
nothing.
them?
We lied about the money.
Mbati Sunday, I will pay for that.
I had a refund check. They did not need to know I got that.
Oh, listen, my mother was
That
asking me questions like,
made my way into Zeta Phi Beta.
Exactly. But I thank you both so much for taking the time out of your day to speak to me and to speak to the viewers who are going to see this. I appreciate you guys so much. And I hope you guys have a great day.
Yes. Oh, and please tune into our podcast, The Femme Cave. I totally forgot to plug that in. I'm sorry.
You got anything to plug, Sam?
Tonight I'm doing a mental health awareness. Yes, it's a seminar. It's going to be a Haitian therapist. More information. Hold on.
Well, but I don't know by the time of this video.
Oh, yeah. It's at 7 p.m. So if you find me on Instagram, I would definitely promote it there. But everyone have an amazing night. Thank you for the opportunity, Sandra.
You're welcome.
Thank you.